SOTA weightloss.com. Sodas, say it with me, state of the art.
Howdy, folks. It's me again. And surprise, it's tomato frenzy time at J&J Garden Center in Layton. Right now, all large-size tomato plants are only $2.99 each. That's half price and grown from seed right here at J&J. And while you're here, pick up a bag or two of J&J's private label all-purpose premium topsoil to help strengthen your vegetable garden for only $5.98 a cubic foot bag. So come to the Tomato Frenzy sale at J&J Garden Center in Layton, where they have the best products at the best price and the best employees, too. Take the Layton Parkway exit, Main Street to Gentile, then west 2 miles. You got to see it to believe it. You really do.
Country grown to your home, J&J Garden Center.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Traffic and weather together now, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Crews have just cleared the accident at the bottom of the exit ramp from northbound I-15 at 6 North. The tow truck has pulled away, and officers have just opened up that ramp to traffic once again. Lagoon is looking for ride maintenance technicians. Lagoon offers excellent mechanical training programs with amazing career opportunities. Ride maintenance technician position is full-time and year-round. Details, visit lagoonpark.com/jobs. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A warming trend will continue through the week, with highs getting into the 70s by the weekend. Right now, 55 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, the headlines have caused the world to focus its attention squarely and almost completely on the Middle East in the aftermath of the recent attacks on Israel by Iran. Meanwhile, Russia's continuing its war of aggression into Ukraine, and the needed aid from the U.S. Is still looming in the House and the Senate. The president did just come out in the last few hours in support of Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's proposal. But the interesting thing is, in terms of the strategy and a strained relationship between Kyiv and Washington, D.C., we want to get underneath the headlines and see how that's playing out, what effect that's going to have on Ukraine and the war effort there. So let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
It's time to think again about what we think we know, and especially as it relates to Ukraine and their strategy in battling and dealing with Russian aggression. And we want to get into that with Dan Lamothe, of course, national security reporter for the Washington Post. And Dan joins us live on the line. Dan, welcome to the show. And as you look at this, the Ukrainians have been looking at some different things that are a little further into Russia than I think the U.S. has been comfortable with. As you continue to cover this and watch this, what are you seeing and what are you watching in terms of how this is playing out?
Yeah, I think there's a couple notable things ongoing at the same time. One is that as Ukraine is sort of trying to fend this attack off in any way it can, it has launched a series of long-range strikes well into Russia, trying to target refineries and other things that would be valuable to Russia. I think trying to limit Russia's economy to some degree, and also I think just make the point that they too can strike on on their adversaries' turf.
Yeah.
While that's going on, though, we've also got this complete paralysis in terms of delivering serious amounts of aid to Ukraine. It's been caught up in the House for months now. And we saw President Biden put out a statement today, but that's on the heels of a number of congressional hearings in recent days where you had General Cavoli of European Command and other senior Pentagon officials basically saying the moment's now, and that within a matter of weeks, perhaps at this point, maybe a week, Russia will enjoy a 10-to-1 advantage with artillery shells over Ukraine.
Wow, and that is a stunning number to wonder how in the world you can do a 10-to-1 and have any kind of chance of even holding any ground, let alone trying to gain any of that back. I think it's been interesting, too. Obviously, the administration has challenges in terms of messages that they're sending to Iran and then to Israel and then to Vladimir Putin. But also, the administration has been sending some of those messages to Ukraine to say, hey, don't go after those oil refineries. And yet the President Zelensky seems to be disregarding that and saying, hey, we have to do something, and this is our strategy.
Yeah, this goes back sometime at this point. Vice President Harris apparently delivered this message on her visit to Kyiv a while back, and it was received very poorly. But the United States has followed up with a number of other individuals delivering effectively the same message. The point being that this makes the war unpredictable. This makes the war a little more challenging for the United States to support. From the Ukrainian perspective, they look at it as something they can do in a time of desperation.
Yeah, and I think as they do that, it seems to me that Kyiv is getting increasingly exhausted or exasperated by the inaction of the United States. I thought one of the comments coming out from one of the Ukrainian officials saying, surely the mightiest military on the planet can find some batteries of Patriots that can help the only country in the world that's fighting ballistic attacks every day. So it seems to be growing tension in terms of the inaction here in the U.S. What else are you hearing, both in terms of the U.S., but then also how is this playing out with the other allies in Europe that are much closer to the fight?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Poland, the Baltic states, Finland, other countries that are much closer to the fight that are willing and able to send some degree of aid. And in terms of kind of percentage, they're actually sending a greater percentage than the United States is of its own gross domestic product. I think the challenge becomes it takes a lot of those smaller countries to sort of add up to what the United States has in its arsenal. A lot of these things are available. They're in the U.S. arsenal. The problem is it requires congressional authorization. That authorization has not come. The previous tranche of money was used, and we've gone a couple months now, really going back to late last fall, with very little aid available.
Yeah, and is there any other real case in terms of why Ukraine should not go after some of those kinds of targets, whether it's energy production capabilities or those kinds of places or targets?
I think from the U.S. perspective, they've been trying to manage a war with a lot of unpredictability in it, with nuclear weapons potentially involved. And it's just if the situation can be contained, I think from the U.S. perspective, U.S. interests, the White House sees that as a better bet.
Yeah.
The Ukrainian perspective on this obviously would vary.
Yeah, no question. And then just give us one thing in closing here, Dan. What's something that we should be watching for in the days ahead beyond the battle that's going to continue to play out in the House this week? What else should we be watching as it relates to Ukraine and their battle against Russia?
There's been a lot of talk about whether or not Russia can break through in a serious way. We've seen the front lines very, very well paralyzed for months now after Ukraine's counteroffensive last year didn't go all that well. The concern becomes that the longer Ukraine goes without serious aid to kind of shoot back and hold the Russians where they are, you run the risk that Russia is able to kind of burst through, kind of collapse the front line, and then it becomes a much more dynamic situation.
Yeah, and it does seem that Ukraine hasn't had they've had kind of the just enough to keep things there, which is why I think the offensive may have been oversold or perceptionally oversold in terms of what could be done, because it was really, inches and yards at a time without the capability to do some of those deeper strike things where you can soften up behind a line and then get some momentum rolling in. And I think what you're saying, Dan, is that the reverse could also happen from Russia's standpoint, that they've been pounding on that line, but they may be able to break through, and then everything changes.
That's right. If you can get behind the Ukrainian front lines, it becomes a much more complex situation.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. We'll continue to watch this very close this week. Dan Lamothe, national security reporter for the Washington Post. Dan, always appreciate your perspective. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Again, that's Dan Lamothe, national security reporter for the Washington Post. And it's so interesting. The dynamics are so complicated. And here the U.S. is saying, hey, don't do this. Don't go after those oil refineries. Again, worried about possible nuclear retaliation coming from Vladimir Putin, and the U.S. trying to navigate all of that. And I think this has to be one of those cases where if you're always just trying to ratchet down, is that always the best strategy? And trying to appease everybody, do you end up appeasing nobody and causing the wider conflict that you're trying to avoid? There's a lot in there. We'll continue to watch it and unpack it as we move it forward on Inside Sources. We'll be right back.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson.
Springtime in Utah, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Judy did. She called Rhino Shield.
After having the house painted with kind of usual house paint, I was seeing cracks appearing about every 3 years and just wasn't very satisfied with that.
Rhino Shield ceramic technology is formulated for our unique climate here in Utah and is Class 1 fire rated.
I can't speak highly enough about the Rhino Shield crew. They also were great at working with me to get the exact right color because I was very particular.
Utah, you too can have the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
I would not hesitate to call Rhino Shield, and I am just thrilled to recommend Rhino Shield to my friends and neighbors and family.
This offer is limited. Call 435-246-4466, 435-246-4466, or rhinoshieldwest.com.
Go Rhino Shield.
Where were you on March 18th, 2020?
Epicenter, Magna, Utah. It was 5.7.
Driving around these neighborhoods like a scene out of the Twilight Zone here.
We're having an aftershock right now.
We're feeling it.
When it happens again, will you know what to do? Join us Thursday for The Great Utah Shakeout on KSL News Radio.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Family Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. It's time to get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data, and you get to choose who joins your family plan starting as low as $25 a line. Does it have to be family? It can be family or people you like.
Get more lines and more savings. Switch to Straight Talk for family plan starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and straighttalk.com. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com. Family plan discount with 4 lines, all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At Capital Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the Capital Wealth Advisors team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 801-210-5500. That's 801-210-5500. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Tim and Amanda.
Do I look forward to reporting the news? Yes, insofar as it helps me understand what's happening.
We know that it's important information that's going to impact people's lives, and so that makes the job of reporting the news that day easier.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, the Great Salt Lake is approaching a level that experts are calling healthy. Second, kids are winding up in the emergency room overdosing on melatonin. And third, a player with the Toronto Raptors has been banned from the NBA for life for violating the league's gambling rules. 55 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. Great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. And, of course, as we continue to watch the 2024 election cycle rumble along, President Joe Biden is on a campaign blitz this week across the state of Pennsylvania. Yesterday, he spoke in one of his favorite spots, Scranton. Today, he's going to give remarks in Pittsburgh and then go on to Philadelphia on Thursday. And it's really interesting. One, just from a communication strategy standpoint. Starting this week in Scranton, I think, was very intentional by the president and his campaign for a number of reasons. One, it is simply a comfort zone place for the president. And everyone in elected office has a comfort zone kind of place. It may be a comfort zone kind of crowd. It may be speaking to a certain think tank or a particular group or in a particular city where they have an affinity that kind of gives them energy back. And so I think it was interesting and intentional that the president began this week in Scranton. And the focus of this week is also interesting from the campaign standpoint. We'll talk about what he's doing from the governing standpoint, which is always the challenge for a sitting president, is how do you manage and do the daily duties of the office while you're running to get 4 more years in the office. This week, he's really contrasting and comparing the former president with his life. So kind of looking at some posturing in terms of President Biden being that man of the people, scrappy kid from Scranton, maybe his biggest go-to line of all of his go-to lines. And again, every politician has the go-tos, and that's his. And he draws some energy from that. And I think it's authentic. I think it's real. That was a part of his history and his story. And so this week he's really comparing and contrasting the scrappy kid from Scranton with Mar-a-Lago and the former president, where the lifestyles of the rich and famous kind of play out in real time there. So I want to play just a little bit of that just so you can get a sense of the president's focus this week. Again, from Scranton, he contrasted the rich and wealthy Donald Trump with his own roots in that scrappy place called Scranton.
You know, people like Donald Trump, you learn that telling people you're fired was something to laugh about. I guess that's how you look at the world when you're in Park Avenue, Mar-a-Lago. But if you grew up in a place like Scranton, nobody handed you anything. When I look at the economy, I don't see it through the eyes of Mar-a-Lago. I see it through the eyes of Scranton, and that's not hyperbole. That's a fact. Where honesty and decency matter.
He posed Donald Trump as supporting tax-friendly policies for the rich while pursuing cuts to Social Security and Medicare benefits for everyone else.
How does Trump pay for these billionaire tax cuts? Recently said Social Security and Medicare, quote, there's a lot you can do in terms of cutting, end of quote. I got a better idea. Let's protect Social Security and Medicare and make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
Now, we talked about that fair share on Monday, on tax day no less, and it is interesting in terms of the percentages of who actually is paying the bulk, the lion's share. Now, what's the fair share? Where does that line actually belong? And unfortunately, a number of the things that the president repeated in his scrappy kid from Scranton speech are things that have been proved out across the political spectrum as not quite accurate in terms of what those making a lot of money are actually paying into the system, what percentage it is, those kinds of things. But to me, the more interesting component coming from the president is he's of course making the case that he's the populist, that he's the one looking out for the little guy. Of course, the former president tries to make the same case that he's the one looking out for the little guy and that he's, the populist person who's going to protect those folks. I don't think either one of them have been very convincing in terms of their actions, in terms of what's actually going on. I think one of the big challenges for the president, maybe the biggest challenge for the president, is while trying to tout many of his wins in terms of legislation being passed and enacted into law and what is actually happening for the American people. And the biggest challenge actually comes out of the government itself, saying that the Labor Department saying that if you have $100 today, if you had that if you had $100 in 2019, that same $100 today would only get you about $80 worth of stuff. So, in other words, about a 20% loss in the buying power, which is where the American people usually feel the economy and what they believe, their perception of what the economy actually is that gap of suddenly what I used to be able to fill up my shopping cart and didn't cost me that much. Now it's like 20% more, or I have to get 20% less. It's that putback factor of how often around the checkout lines are you seeing items that are being set aside or put back. And so that's the one that the president's going to have to counter as he goes through the week this week. Now, I did think it was very important today. The president made a very strong statement in support of Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's proposal for 3 separate bills providing aid to Ukraine, Israel, and then Taiwan, kind of the Indo-Pacific region. And he urged that they get those bills passed this week. He said the House must pass the package this week and the Senate should quickly follow. I'll sign into law immediately to send a message to the world that we stand with our friends and we won't let Iran, Russia succeed. Again, that's coming directly from President Biden. So that's an important moment there. Again, a bipartisan moment. The president reaching across the aisle. And, of course, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is doing a lot of mental gymnastics and a lot of jiu-jitsu with members of his own party. And they are trying to navigate getting that done. And the Speaker, of course, trying to actually remain the Speaker is also part of that. And so for the president to come out and say, I think that's a good approach, I can support that, I'll sign that into law. We haven't had a moment like that in a very, very long time, where we've had a president of a different political party talking to the Speaker of the House of a different political party saying, yeah, I'm on board. You get that through, I'll sign it. Let's get that done. And so I applaud the president for that. I think that's an important statement. And it is a crucial one as we look at what's going on around the world in terms of Ukraine, Israel, Indo-Pacific, and then some humanitarian aid also going into Gaza as well. And so those are all interesting things on the political front as the president tries to move everything forward. I think the other big challenge for the president coming out this week is going to be around the fact that here we are simply in the month of April. So we're about 6 months into the fiscal year, which started on October the 1st. And 6 months into the spending for the year, we are already 1.1 trillion in the hole. So we already have a 1.1 trillion, and we're not even halfway through the fiscal year as a country. So that's one area where the president is going to have to deal with the math, and the math always wins, and compound interest never stops. In fact, our friend George Will at the Washington Post pointed out this morning that thus far, in the first 6 months, we have spent $429 billion on interest. We spent $433 billion on defense. So already we are spending the equivalent of what we're spending on our defense budget on just interest payments on our $34 trillion of debt for the country. That's part of the problem. That's a discussion that Congress has got to get to because the math will win in the end, and the result is not going to be good for anybody. And that doesn't matter what the political scene is. That's just bad for the republic. It's bad for all of the people of the country. All right, we're going to go ahead and step aside for some bottom of the hour news. Don't go anywhere. More Inside Sources coming up next on KSL News Radio. We'll be right back.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Kids have been winding up in emergency rooms after overdosing on melatonin. And now leading trade groups says manufacturers will have to improve child-proof packaging and warning labels. Dr. Chuck Pruitt with Primary Children's Hospital says it's hard to know how much a child might have taken.
Because it's not regulated by the FDA or other regulatory organizations, this means that the amount of active hormone in a particular dose in a tablet can vary greatly.
The trade group, not a government agency, has given melatonin makers 2 years to comply with the new rules. Our top national story this hour from ABC News.
The Senate will proceed to consideration of the articles of impeachment against Alejandro N. Mayorkas, Secretary of Homeland Security.
The Senate has begun the impeachment trial for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. He was accused in the House of failing to enforce federal law on border security. Democrats in the Senate, though, say he committed no impeachable offenses. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day 35 points. The NASDAQ right now down 164. And our KSL weather looks like things will be warming right up toward the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Devotion to country, service to Utah. Brent Orrin Hatch had a front row seat, watching his father serve our state faithfully in the Senate. A constitutional conservative and lifelong Republican, Brent Orrin Hatch is a champion for the rule of law. He's running for Senate to stop this lawless president from destroying our country from within. Hatch will fight to secure the border once and for all and take on Mexican drug cartels to halt the flow of deadly fentanyl. Brent Orrin Hatch knows the national debt is just as big a threat to national security. Hatch won't rest until the budget's balanced and won't cave to the big spenders in both parties. Pro-life, deeply committed to religious liberty, rock-solid Utah conservative. Brent Orrin Hatch for Senate. Paid for by Conservative Outsider PAC, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.copac.us.
Are you stressing about your IRS tax problems? Have you received notices from the IRS threatening to garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, or seize your property? You need an ally. Allies Tax Relief has tax attorneys and enrolled agents that are ready to fight for you. They have saved millions for taxpayers just like you. Allies Tax Relief can help put a stop to IRS collections and, most importantly, negotiate your tax debt. Here's Brenda, a happy client of Allies Tax Relief.
I owed the IRS around $57,000, and they're about to start garnishing my paychecks. I heard a commercial on the radio about Allies Tax Relief, so I thought I'd give them a call. After a day, they were able to at least stop the garnishments, and after a few months of negotiations, I walked away owing the IRS only $301.
If you owe the IRS, call Allies Tax Relief right now for your free consultation. Call 800-230-5174. 800-230-5174. That's 800-230-5174.
When the weather warms up, it's like a stampede, except instead of dust stirred up by hundreds of hooves, it's a cascade of phone calls to Advanced Window Products. This is Jeff Kaplan. Soon as the sun shines and the snow's gone, people want new windows and frames from Utah's #1 custom window maker, and the wait for installation grows longer. But right now, you can get near the front of the line by calling for a quote and get $2,500 off when you purchase 10 windows or more. That's on top of the incredible savings for the highest quality double-pane windows and frames, any style, any color. See, at Advanced Window Products, they actually build the windows here in Utah, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. There's no middleman, and they can pass the savings on to you. They even offer buy now, pay later. So get in before the wait grows longer and get the $2,500 off. Get your new windows this spring. Make the call. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Looking at a crash-free, delay-free drive on all the Valley freeways, including I-15, either direction between Ogden and Provo. Our main secondaries also in good shape. Put the equity in your home to work with a home equity line of credit and get 6.49% APR for the first 6 months. Learn more at cypresscu.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Our KSL weather, a warming trend continues through the week with highs getting into the 70s by the weekend. Right now, 57 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, as you know, we're always looking for people who are actually living the principles and who are out there making a difference. We've been sharing some of the experience I had last Friday at the 2024 Kindness Summit. I know we've talked about Utah as a crossroads to the West. We've talked about crossroads to the world. You may not have known it's also becoming known as the Crossroads of Kindness. It was an extraordinary event up at the University of Utah. Of course, Khosrow Semnani and the Semnani Family Foundation driving just an amazing thing. And one thing I love about events like that is the bumpability factor. It's who you run into. It's who you get to know. And one of those that I bumped into who is out there making a difference. So excited to share this story with you today. So just wherever you are, just sit down, just soak this one in. Michelle West is the founder of Friends on the Spectrum and was part of the Kindness Summit up there at the University of Utah last week. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming into the studio. And give us first your first pass on the Kindness Summit last week.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Boyd, so much for having us today. Super excited to be here. I really loved the Kindness Summit. So being in corporate life for 20 years, I've been to plenty of summits. This one, I tell you what, every single speaker was able to share the ways that they essentially have been able to make kindness a career, like their way of life. And that really resonated with me. Just all of the busy and hubbub of getting a nonprofit set up. You feel like you're hanging by a thread sometimes. And I tell you, that day, I immersed myself in just feeling the energy that was there. Was able to connect with incredible people like you, who genuinely the best MC ever. There was some really meaningful things and experiences that you shared. But also just to be able to meet others that are in this work. Khosrow Semnani, what an amazingly genuine guy. Like you can just feel.
Just a difference
maker. Yeah. So it was incredible. Super grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was so good. It really is, as we're going through the day, it really is a way of being, and it's a way of seeing. And often we don't see those opportunities to make a difference. And sometimes we don't see those in our lives and in our community. Who we can be part of that kindness factor and make a difference. And you're a seer, and you have seen our friends on the spectrum in a unique way. Tell us the origin story of that.
Absolutely. So I quit my job of 20 years in the corporate world, took this leap. Essentially, it started with my son. So our youngest son, Lucas, was diagnosed with autism when he was nearly 3. He's now 11. And, when you get that diagnosis as a parent, you are grappling with understanding, what does this mean for him? What does this mean for his future? Will he be able to go to school? Will he be able to speak? Our son didn't start saying words until he was 5, right? And so it's a very difficult journey that oftentimes your loved ones don't really understand it enough to really be able to kind of dig in and be present with my son and to give that support. So Friends on the Spectrum, super, super important to us because as we see Lucas continue to grow and he wants friends, he wants, that social connectivity, it's difficult when you have a special needs child. Typically their classes have maybe 10 to 12 children, and oftentimes those children are pulled within a large area in the community, so it's not like they're in the neighborhood.
Right.
And then, based on, some of the gaps that he has in communicating things that are tough. We don't have a ton of faith in just allowing Lucas to run on over to the neighbor's house like we did with our neurotypical children, right? There's just a level of concern and a need or an obligation to protect them more than most. And so it's kind of heartbreaking. I've got 2 older kids. They're 16 and 14. That was my son's friend source when he was little, right? He kind of tag along as they played like children do. And now they're teenagers and they're dating and driving. And, Lucas is stuck at home with old mom and old dad. And he's like, what are we going to do? And, Clay and I were trying to rally. We're trying to create some fun for him. But it just becomes more and more heartbreaking about what does the future look like for him? We know these kids get more and more isolated as they get older.
I think that's such a big thing. The isolation, I think, is everything for all of us.
Right.
But especially for someone on the spectrum, I think that's such a powerful thing. And so you saw that, you were experiencing that, and then you did what all great individuals and leaders and people who get it do. You jumped into that parentheses of the crazy idea.
Right.
And you created a space where our friends on the spectrum could gather and connect, and that their parents could get the kind of resources they need as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So, growing up, I had an older brother, and both, and my parents as well would say, hey, if you think something should be done, if not you, then who? And so that continued to just ring in my mind for years until finally my husband Clay and I, who is just my right-hand guy in all of this and supports me. And, we essentially said, we've got to do it. It's up to us. It's not going to be created. And so we set up Friends on the Spectrum. We actually had our grand opening March 23rd, so just not too long ago. And we've been able to, facilitate a few weeks of our social groups. So you've got these children in there. We basically create, these connection opportunities for special needs children ages 2 to 20. And we obviously kind of facilitate those at different times. And it has been amazing already to see the progress, to see the growth. Lucas, my little guy, came home from school and he goes, is it my group today? It was his group that day. He now has his own place to be every week, right as rain. He's tagging along with me for soccer, lacrosse, whatever else. He has his thing just for him. And it's been amazing to see already the excitement and confidence that he has to go and just have a good time.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So powerful. So
Yep.
powerful. Talk
Absolutely.
to me for a second about some of the resources for parents, because talk about being isolated.
Yes.
Often the parents feel isolated, not having answers, wondering about the future. How do we do this? What are some of the things that you're providing for the parents of our friends on the spectrum?
So I'm super grateful. We have been able to, build a partnership with Lori Krasny. So Lori Krasny is a therapist who has over 40 years of experience in working with children on the spectrum. This gal, she is an angel on earth. And, fortunately, my husband Clay and I, 9 years ago, we were able to find this course, this 8-week parent course, where we were able to meet with Lori. And, I remember what really resonated with us that first day. We were going around. She facilitates small groups, so you can get kind of vulnerable and share your, specific situations. And after we did that, tears in our eyes, all like shocked and terrified of what lies ahead, Lori said, I want each of you to know your children have incredible potential. They are beautiful souls, and they will learn and grow and progress. You just don't understand their operating system. They're kind of like a Mac computer in a PC world.
Yeah.
And I'm going to help you understand their operating system.
I love that.
So you can imagine the relief as a parent. And in her sharing that and giving us that vote of confidence to know there is a better way for you to understand these children. She shares perspectives. She provides skills for us as parents that allow us to create meaningful and joyful interactions and connections with our children.
Oh, I love that.
And so I would, Clay and I would both still say this is still 9 years later, the most impactful, training support that we received. And so Lori, she recently retired from her job at one of the school districts in the Valley, and she facilitates this 8-week course for us. We're 4 weeks in now, and the parents just continue to come up like, you could never know.
Yeah.
It's like a mindset shift. It's not just tips and tricks. You view your child differently. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. I'm super grateful for her.
Where can people go to get more information?
Yeah, so you can go to friendsonthespectrum.org. Right at the top of the website, you will see a button that says sign up for social groups, play groups each week. So there's an online scheduling portal there. And also you will be able to look at media clips, situations that have already been able to come to fruition for us. Great opportunities there, and then our services, and that will essentially let you know what we offer. And feel free to reach out to us. Awesome. You can call us directly.
Fantastic. Friendsonthespectrum.org is the place to go. This is one of those holy ground spaces where you see these kids come together, often for the first time, feeling connected to something, part of something, a place to go that is their own. It's an extraordinary mission. It's extraordinary organization, extraordinary leadership. Michelle West, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Boyd.
All right. We'll step aside for a quick commercial break. We'll come back. More Inside Sources coming up next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You've been trying to hold off, but you think it's time you might need a new roof? Best move you could make is to call the highest-rated roofing contractor in Utah. IWC Roofing has been working up there for 27 years. They offer the best warranty in the business, backed by Owens Corning. What's most amazing is they'll replace your entire roof in 1 day. Instead of Chuck with a truck showing up for a week of chaos and mayhem, you get professionals. IWC Roofing is in, they're out, and they power wash your driveway just to say thank you. They'll even send pictures from the roof so you know exactly what you're getting for your hard-earned money. Now, you think a highly skilled Owens Corning Platinum Certified contractor would charge more, but no. IWC offers a better price, and if you call now, they'll give you an extra $2,000 off your quote. $2,000 off. So call IWC Roofing for a free estimate, 801-232-5690, 232-5690, or visit IWCRoofingUtah.com.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com. or text the word INBOX to 57500. That's INBOX to 57500.
Hello, Spring. This is your friend, Adventure. You've been on my mind, and I'm wondering where you've been. Weather's warming, and word on the street is you're looking for riders to enjoy Cedar City Brian Head's spectacular trails? Well, I'm told Three Peaks Recreation and Parawam's Evil Water Trail System are the bomb. Or perhaps you've changed. Maybe you're more into hiking? Kolob Canyon or Thor's Hammer Trail make a perfect meetup place. Oh, and don't forget Cedar City's spectacular views accompanied by disc golf at the Thunderbird Garden Course. Listen, I've always been here. I still like the same things, spring skiing, tubing, but I'm more mature now. My interests have expanded. There's Cedar City's Southern Utah Museum of Art, strolls downtown, fine dining or shopping. I'm more interesting than you know. Let's connect and rekindle our relationship starting in the spot we always enjoy. Cedar City Brian Head. Look me up at visitcedarcity.com. Your old friend, Adventure.
It's springtime in the Rockies, and it's time to apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment. A Revive treatment with fertilization, aeration, and good watering is the key to building stronger roots for a healthy, lush green lawn. Revive fertilizes and moves water and nutrients deeper into the soil. Take advantage of spring storms with an application of Revive now. Protect yourself from drought later this summer and skyrocketing water costs. With Revive, if you water 2 times a week, it's like watering 4. Apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment today. It works.
Hi everyone, it's Congressman Blake Moore here. It's been a great several months engaging with Utahns across the 1st District at in-person town halls, community events, facility tours, schools, and much more. I love the opportunity to meet with you and hear your concerns and priorities. I've also enjoyed hosting regular telephone town halls this year, and I'm looking forward to our next one on April 17th at 12:30 p.m. We will discuss everything from federal budgeting reform to the crisis at the southern border, from national security policy to public lands issues. Dial in at 833-305-1678 on Wednesday, April 17th at 12:30 p.m. That's 833-305-1678 on Wednesday, April 17th at 12:30 p.m. I'd love for you to call in and ask a question. Due to U.S. law, I will be unable to communicate with constituents 60 days leading up to the primary election unless you are subscribed to our weekly e-newsletter or follow us on social media. Please be sure to sign up for our e-newsletter at blakemore.house.gov and follow along on socials at Rep. Blake Moore. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Hey guys, do you know your T-level? Revive Men's Health here in Salt Lake City is helping you take that first step toward better health and enhanced intimacy with a free testosterone level test, exam, and consultation. Plus, for this month only, qualified patients can kickstart their treatment with a free supply of ED medication. Revive's customized ED treatments can provide immediate results, restore blood flow naturally, and even bring spontaneity back into your love life. With both in-person and telemedicine appointments available, plus free shipping directly to you, Revive takes the hassle out of treating low T and ED. Having an optimal testosterone level can change your whole life, and it starts with knowing your T level. Take that first step and book your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation, and kickstart your treatment with a free supply of ED medication this month only. Call Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City at 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
It's 1st and goal at the 10-yard line with seconds left on the clock. Your running back is poised for a game-winning touchdown, but before you can make the snap, the opposing team just takes the ball and locks it inside a safe? Then they won't give you the combination unless you pay them $10,000? That's how ransomware works. And in 2021, 2 out of every 3 organizations fell victim to ransomware attacks. Protect your business with the Les Olson Security Suite from Les Olson IT. Learn more at lesolson.com.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
A stranger with a gun fires on 2 teens, shattering lives. But that's only the beginning of the story. Listen to The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, melatonin's supposed to be a safe supplement to support sleep, but kids who take too much are winding up in the ER. Second, 400,000 Ford Broncos are being recalled. The fix is a software update. And third, the impeachment trial in the U.S. Senate has begun for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. He's accused of failing to enforce federal laws on border security. 57 degrees right now in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
We're really pleased to have joining us on the program today. Frank Glatz is the founder and CEO of Contact Organics in Australia and has found his way to not just the United States, but right to the state of Utah, down to St. George for an important event happening. We've been covering that here on Inside Sources, talking about all of the things in the agriculture space and just some great innovation that's going on. Of course, our friends over at World Trade Center Utah and Ariely is the sponsor of this summit and event. And Frank, welcome to the Beehive State, and looking forward to this conversation. Tell us, give us a little bit of the background on your company, on Contact Organics, and what it is that connected you to the Beehive State.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me on the program. As said beforehand, so I'm the managing director or CEO and founder of Contact Organics. Contact Organics is an Australian ag-tech startup company. We have developed a breakthrough innovation in non-toxic weed control that delivers significant impact on the environment, on food chains and public health. In summary, we have developed a non-toxic weed killer from natural ingredients that works and is really good for the soil. If you look in the context of the global ag-tech market, the global herbicide market is worth $40 billion. It's huge. And chemical herbicides that usually kill weeds, they're toxins. So therefore, when you spray them to kill weeds, you have a real impact on the environment, soil, water-wise, and even on your body.
Yeah.
So we have developed a proprietary delivery technology to make natural active ingredients bioavailable and really applied that to bioherbicidal products. Through our application formulation development, we really achieve effectiveness and efficiencies like leading chemical herbicides. Our target markets are regenerative agriculture. We do crop desiccation. We work in vineyards, horticulture, commercial landscaping, home market, garden markets. Where the company's at the moment, we're years of work, but we have just received the US EPA registration for our Firehawk bioherbicide products, so we are ready to sell now. We have developed more and more product to get the right cost structures. We have got a lot of patents. We're at that point of our bioherbicide market launch. So we're working on preparing the launch and then ramping up sales and get going in the U.S. market.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you're part of this group that's down in St. George this week, and just a unique group of startups and innovative organizations that are down there. Tell us about, I know there's companies from several different countries down there.
Yes.
What is it about Utah that makes this a great place for that agri-tech community?
Well, if you look, firstly, we're in St. George, and this is an amazing place. I just love to get up this morning, go for a walk, and breathe a lot of fresh air. So the whole atmosphere and feel of the place is great. As you said, I'm participating in the START Agri-Tech program that's organized by Frontier and Ariely here at the Atwood Innovation Plaza at Utah Tech. And what the START Agri-Tech program does, it connects agri-tech startup companies with potential business partners, mentors, Utah government representatives, investors. So we're meeting at the moment a lot of amazing people that we engage with and learn from. It's great to have a chance to exchange and to network and get very active in this whole kind of field here.
Yeah.
So if you look on Utah, it's obviously a great place to do business. The people that we're meeting, they really have a can-do attitude. The government is very supportive of ag-tech startup business, and it's very accessible. During this program here, I was able to talk to Craig Buttis, the Utah Commissioner of Agriculture, and introduce him to our product. So it's a great opportunity to engage. We're working at Utah Tech, which have great facilities here. the Innovation Center is quite amazing. So it's great cooperation partners. If I look at Utah, I think you have a great central location in the U.S. Our business, we will sell a lot of products as we go forward in horticultural applications in California. And of course, here from Utah, you have great access to the West Coast. I can really imagine Utah as a very strong location for our U.S. business with all the industrial and logistics kind of location. The depth of knowledge and appreciation of AgTech in this community is really making a difference. You can really feel people know what they're talking about. So it's great experience.
That's fantastic. And as we like to say, they used to refer to Utah as just the crossroads of the West. We think it's become the crossroads to the world now.
Absolutely. We love it here because Utah, by the way, has become an important lead market for our business in the U.S. So our non-toxic herbicides, already we have a distributor up in Heber Valley, and our non-toxic herbicides are already used in Park City, in their parks and gardens, golf courses. They're using it in sensitive natural areas, or we have already Utah Valley universities using our product, or Soldier Hollow Carter School, they're using the product in sports fields. So they're really Heber Valley farms and homeowners using it. So people are obviously very concerned about the environment and looking at ways of doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh, fantastic. Great insight, great perspective. Frank Glatz, founder, CEO of Contact Organics, really doing some extraordinary things that are both good for the ag business and good for the environment. We love to have those compatible principles and show that this is how you can make it happen. This is how you get it done. Part of an extraordinary event happening down in St. George this week. Ariely, of course, is a lead sponsor there in terms of the summit, and just some great things in terms of initiatives, innovation, and crucial conversations going on down there. Public can participate coming up on Thursday this week with some of the really interesting entrepreneurial pitches that'll be made down there. Frank, we're so grateful you came across. That's a long journey, I know, from Melbourne. And we're glad you're here. You hope you have a fantastic stay and look forward for your business to thrive and to have Utah as a part of that success story. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up hour number 1 of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. We're going to step aside for some top of the hour news, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about progressivism, and what does that actually look like, and how do we actually get back to innovation? Stick around. We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. We have breaking news. The Sundance Institute says it's planning to look at options for another location for the Sundance Film Festival. KSL.com says the Institute has been meeting with Park City leaders to put together an agreement to keep the festival in its longtime home past 2026. The Institute says its revenue dropped significantly after the COVID pandemic. A new state task force would crack down on big-time criminals related to the fentanyl epidemic. Dustin Gillespie with Salt Lake's DEA office tells KSL-TV its goal is to target the worst of the worst.
We're looking for serious offenders, the worst of the worst.
One public health advocate is concerned the task force would reach too far and scare addicts away from getting the help they need. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, more than 400,000 Ford Broncos and Maverick pickup trucks are being recalled because of a problem with the powertrain. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the control unit has an issue detecting the battery's level of charge. That could cause a loss of power. The fix is a software update. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day 46 points, but the NASDAQ is down 181. And our KSL weather warming up through the rest of the week. That's next. KSL News Time 2:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Do you find it exhausting getting up from your favorite chair every day? Say goodbye to discomfort and hello to a world of ease. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and you have so many options when buying a lift chair. For the highest quality, always come to Alpine. Our lift chairs are more than just furniture. They're your ticket to independence and relaxation. Plus, with our spring savings event, we've just marked down some of our chairs that are ready for you to take home. With an unbelievable warranty, you can shop with confidence knowing your comfort is our priority. So stop by any of our 11 locations today and explore our high-quality inventory, or visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Looking for a secure retirement plan without market risk? Look no further. Lyle Boss, president of Boss Financial, specializes in no market risk retirement strategies with guarantees of principal, guaranteed growth, and lifelong income. Join Lyle right here each Saturday and Sunday for his Safe Money radio show, and call him now at 855-355-SAFE for your complimentary customized Safe Money information kit and Safe Money book. Nothing but upside here at 855-355-SAFE.
Les Olson IT now provides building security solutions. Do you need physical access control for your facilities? Are you looking for video surveillance systems accessible in the palm of your hand? Les Olson IT has what you need, and their low-voltage network cabling specialists will install it and make sure it's working the way it should. Learn more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Hi everyone, it's Congressman Blake Moore here. It's been a great several months engaging with Utahns across the 1st District at in-person town halls, community events, facility tours, schools, and much more. I love the opportunity to meet with you and hear your concerns and priorities. I've also enjoyed hosting regular telephone town halls this year, and I'm looking forward to our next one on April 17th at 12:30 p.m. We will discuss everything from federal budgeting reform to the crisis at the southern border, from national security policy to public lands issues. Dial in at 833-305-1678 on Wednesday, April 17th at 12:30 p.m. That's 833-305-1678 on Wednesday, April 17th at 12:30 p.m. I'd love for you to call in and ask a question. Due to U.S. law, I will be unable to communicate with constituents 60 days leading up to the primary election unless you are subscribed to our weekly e-newsletter or follow us on social media. Please be sure to sign up for our e-newsletter at blakemore.house.gov and follow along on socials at Rep. Blake Moore. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
It's a good drive on I-15 and the rest of the Valley freeways. We do have a crash with Salt Lake City PD on the scene at 12th East Wilmington Avenue. That's just south of 2100 South. The best kept secret is this is the pass. It's a pass for fun for everyone. Now through April 30th, save $20 off every annual pass level. 362 days of fun. Visit thisisthepass.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A warming trend will continue through the week with highs getting into the 70s by the weekend. Right now we're partly cloudy, 57 degrees. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
We don't have to look very far to see the headlines filled with a lot of the cynicism that is plaguing more than just our politics these days. Our everyday lives have been weighed down by complacency, mindlessly taking kind of the world-changing inventions of the 21st century for granted, a lot of the progress that has been made. But I think it's crucial for us to get underneath those headlines and that negativity and look at what is the path back to really embracing innovation, the optimism, and the progress that we're all about. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Well, it's time to think again about what you think you know when it comes to progress. Brilliant piece at Reason.com today. Ronald Bailey's the science correspondent for Reason. And his piece today was maybe my favorite piece of the day today in terms of just thinking through where are we, what we take for granted today, and then how do we make sure we re-enthrone that innovation and both celebration of past progress and pushing forward to new. How do we go about that? And Ronald, welcome to the program.
Delighted to be with you. I want to warn your listeners I'm getting over a cold, so I might sound a little rough, but thank you for having me.
And that is part of the price of progress, Ron, is you have to play hurt some days, and we are grateful that you're playing hurt for us today in the game. For our listeners, give us just kind of a baseline, and you talk about this, the fact that we are the beneficiaries of a lot of progress, and sometimes that gives us a kind of pessimistic view of the future.
Yes, that was what sort of motivated the article entitled Progress Rediscovered that I did at Reason, is I've been casting around and became aware that there are a whole bunch of new young groups of think tanks and websites and so forth that actually are embracing the notion that we can, if you will, pursue with gusto and elan technological, scientific, and industrial progress again. They really are in favor of economic growth. They are trying to fight against a cultural pessimism that seems to have pervaded the current few decades in the United States. And I think it's just very exciting.
Yeah, I love that. And there are so many things that have been pointing to a lot of the things you pointed out in your piece of kind of the view that not many think it will be better for their kids than it was for them, and the generation beyond that will be worse. And some think we're just in a death spiral, just waiting to hit bottom. But tell us about this optimistic opposition that you described. Who are these folks? Who are these groups? And what are they starting to do?
Well, I specifically focused on 4 different groups. The Roots of Progress, which is a group that is trying to develop, if you will, the intellectual base for the new ideology of progress, if you will. The Institute for Progress, which is in Washington, D.C., and they're more of an organization that's trying to get into the nitty-gritty of how science funding works and how the federal government works, and try to figure out how to get rid of the overburden of regulation that's gumming up the works, if you will. And then there's the Progress Network, which is, again, trying to align people from all ideological viewpoints, but who are definitely looking to the future of a technological and scientific progress. And then there's a wonderful publication called Works in Progress, which is trying to, if you will, identify problems and how they can be solved, and do it in a deep, effective way and with good policy proposals out there. And these are all relatively young groups of people, and I was very excited to be able to talk with them and interview them. And basically, I believe that they're coalescing into a new progress movement, which could lead us out of the current gloom and doom into a much better future.
Yeah, I think that's so vital that we get out of this doom scrolling kind of space that we're in. And I also love the fact that you took time to just pause and say, hey, there's been some pretty amazing progress going on, not just here in the U.S. over the last couple hundred years, but there's a lot of progress. There's never been more opportunities. I think we often take advantage or take for granted the fact that we got nice hot running water and an internet that works and all of those kinds of things. How do we start to change the dynamic and the dialogue to really allow groups like this to be unleashed and to make sure we go at progress in a way that isn't either just government-dominated, kind of a Wilsonian approach to it, but has enough structure and support to it that it can actually help pull society forward?
Well, one of the things that you have identified is, again, the overburden of regulation, where you can't build anything anywhere anymore in the United States because of all of the red tape that's accumulated around various projects and so forth. That would be a huge blow in the direction of, once again, freeing up entrepreneurs and market forces to start bringing new projects and new technologies forward. And this is one of the things that these groups are working on, for example. But again, one of the things I also think is helpful, and you mentioned that a little bit earlier, is reminding people of where we came from. And right now, it always sounds like it's terrible. We don't have a lot of things. But if you go back even 50 years ago, Americans were only about a third as rich as they are now. The internet came into existence. The new vaccines are available now. The infant mortality rate was even higher in those days. The number of people who are highly educated around the world is increasing at all times. And here's some amazing statistics to me is life expectancy at the year 1900 for planet Earth was about 35 years. It's now over 70 years and increasing, which is a huge improvement of what it is to be a human being and a human prospects. And all of this is what these groups are trying to do. As Jason Crawford says, what they're trying to do is to create, if you will, a vision of an ambitious technological future that we want to live in and are excited to build. And I think that they're actually going to succeed at that. It will take a while. The voices of cultural despair are hard to displace, but I think that we can get there, and I think these folks will be helping us to do that.
Yeah, it's true. The negative voices are loud and feel like they're everywhere, but I think in the end, I think there are going to be those who recognize, we always refer to it in the context that America was born within the parentheses of a crazy idea, and that's how progress begins. It's not when things are set and settled, it's when things are far from certain. But someone's willing to take a risk and believe in that possibility. Just in our last minute here, give us something you're watching for moving forward and how we get past the pessimism and get to that optimism as a society.
As a technology or as a cultural trend?
Let's start with the cultural trend.
Again, I would like to say that these groups, I think, are at the forefront of that, and they're not alone. There are other groups like the Breakthrough Institute that are working on this. A fabulous group of folks at the Libertarian Cato Institute called Human Progress are also getting the message out and that kind of thing. I think, again, as one of the people I interviewed, Solange Datani, who works in Progress, she calls herself an impatient optimist. And that's what these people are, impatient optimists. And I think that we all need to be impatient optimists and just push forward through the cultural negativity and the voices of despair that are still sort of dominant in our culture at the moment.
This is a great piece. Everybody should go check this out at Reason.com today. Ronald Bailey, science correspondent for Reason. Fantastic piece. Thanks for playing hurt. Thanks for joining us today. That's what progress sounds like.
Thank you very much for having me.
So important. And the final thing that he shared in his piece was that pessimism is more arrogant than optimism. And it's that optimism is just knowing that we're capable of solving problems. Pessimism is the conviction that we can't. I believe we've got to think again about what's possible.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. We all know what UV rays can do to our skin, but they can also do damage to your car. Keep that from happening with 303 Protectant. 303 Protectant keeps the sun's harmful rays from causing fading and cracking in rubber, plastic, or vinyl surfaces. From the dashboard to the tires, 303 Protectant keeps your car looking new longer. Get 303 Protectant today at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Visit 303radio.com for more information.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. Your coworker Kyle said bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive could save you money. Bad news. While saying this, Kyle was eating your clearly labeled lunch. Dumb news. Pizza near work costs $7 a slice, and it tastes like drywall covered in ketchup. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and enjoy more lunches far away from Kyle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Before Payson High comes down,
there is a time to every purpose under heaven.
The balloons and crepe paper go up one last time.
There is a time to dance.
Kevin Bacon returns to Payson High School. Dave and Debbie are live for Bacon to Payson, Friday at 9 on KSL News Radio.
In a world where ugly siding, leaky gutters, and inefficient windows are sapping homeowners of their will to live, one company must save us all. This year, join RGS Exteriors as it embarks on a mission to eliminate outdated home exteriors, one Utah home at a time. Every plank of old, ugly siding must be replaced. Every leaky gutter must be eradicated. Every inefficient, energy-sapping window must be vanquished once and for all. Begin your epic remodeling quest by calling RGS Exteriors for a free estimate. Discover how a heroic team of experts will save your siding, gutters, or windows for a fair, no-nonsense price. Call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or journey online to rgsexteriors.com. RGS Exteriors, coming soon to a home near you.
Hey guys, do you know your T-Level? Revive Men's Health here in Salt Lake City is helping you take that first step toward better health and enhanced intimacy with a free testosterone level test, exam, and consultation. Plus, for this month only, qualified patients can kickstart their treatment with a free supply of ED medication. Call Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City at 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Are you stressing about your IRS tax problems? Have you received notices from the IRS threatening to garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, or seize your property? You need an ally. Allies Tax Relief has tax attorneys and enrolled agents that are ready to fight for you. They have saved millions for taxpayers just like you. Allies Tax Relief can help put a stop to IRS collections and, most importantly, negotiate your tax debt. Here's Brenda, a happy client of Allies Tax Relief.
I owed the IRS around $57,000, and they're about to start garnishing my paychecks. I heard a commercial on the radio about Allies Tax Relief, so I thought I'd give them a call. After a day, they were able to at least stop the garnishments, and after a few months of negotiations, I walked away owing the IRS only $301.
If you owe the IRS, call Allies Tax Relief right now for your free consultation. Call 800-230-5174. 800-230-5174. That's 800-230-5174.
Good morning. I'm the 40% off window company.
40% off? Of what?
Hey, 40% off.
Yeah, I'll bet it's your biggest sale of the year. This week only, because you need a model home in our neighborhood.
Well,
nothing. It's baloney. Hi, this is Kathy.
And Doug of Window World. When you hear those things, you know you've entered the baloney zone.
Resist the force of the baloney zone.
Find Window World online at windowworldutah.com.
Or call Window World at 281-8111. That's 281-8111.
And that's no baloney.
The season of adventure is finally here, and it's time to take your adventures to a new level in an RV from a Motorsportsland RV Center. Enjoy the breathtaking destinations right here in Utah without leaving the comforts of your new home on wheels. Hurry in now and check out our limited supply of 2023 model closeouts at huge discounts. Save almost $15,000 off MSRP on our 2023 Prowler 265BHX for only $24,995 with zero down payment options under $300 a month OAC. Or $10,000 off our 2023 ROG 10MC Toy Hauler for only $16,995 with zero down payment options under $200 a month OAC. At Motorsportsland RV Centers, we offer real prices without hidden fees for freight, prep, orientation, or even propane. See details and more amazing deals on premium RV models at motorsportsland.com.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Motorsportsland.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
A stranger with a gun came upon two teens taking pictures under a rising full moon. But violence is only the beginning of this story.
Sometimes I thought, there are no miracles. Yeah, there are, and this is a big one.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and I've spent my career talking about how lives are undone by violence. The Letter is a podcast about how lives are remade. Follow The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the Sundance Institute says it's looking around for a possible new location for the Sundance Film Festival. Second, a new task force is working to take down fentanyl dealers. One advocate says it may scare people away from treatment. Third, a jury could be in place to hear the hush money case against former President Trump by this Friday. Right now, 57 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Well, we often say on this show that if you really want to fuel freedom anywhere, you unlock and unleash entrepreneurs and small business owners. They drive freedom around the world and right here at home, and far too often they get overlooked. We always talk about the big Fortune 500 and the big tech companies, but we have to remember that most of those came about because of somebody was an entrepreneur. Somebody was a small business person that had a dream and made that dream a reality, as you can only do here in the United States of America. And one of the important agencies that has a role to play in that, of course, is the Small Business Administration. And we are really pleased to have the Deputy Administrator of the Small Business Administration actually in the state of Utah today, Dilawar Syed, and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Boyd. Thanks for having me.
So first of all, just tell us a little bit about your role with the Small Business Administration and what it is that we should think about or think differently about when we think about SBA.
Well, I'm first of all a tech entrepreneur turned public servant. So I myself have been a small business owner, and it is a privilege of a lifetime to serve at this level as part of the SBA leadership. My role at SBA is to help run the agency. As many small businesses know and many Americans know, this agency really helped sustain our economy during the COVID pandemic, processing almost $1 trillion worth of relief to small businesses to make sure they continue to sustain our economy. In the state of Utah, we have 334,000 small businesses. They are responsible for roughly 1 out of 2 jobs in this great state. And I'm sure many of those small businesses were served by SBA during this time. You know, Boyd, at this time in our economic recovery, and we've had a terrific last 3 years of a run on the economic front, we have a huge opportunity for us to see this resurgence of entrepreneurship. And my visit here at the state is to help ensure that all communities, all regions know that there are SBA resources they have access to, whether it's loans and grants, and mentorship services to both support new businesses that are being created, but also the ones that need support for the expansion.
Yeah, and such an important thing. I know you're having crucial conversations with the SBA here in the state, as well as with our friends at World Trade Center Utah. And I think that important education process of knowing what's available and how to access the kind of help. I think many, we always say that the small business owners run out of energy before they run out of opportunity. And especially for those maybe in our rural communities who may not think they have access to some of those kinds of things. What's your message to them today?
So first of all, our field office here in Salt Lake City serves the state, and so folks know that they have at no cost access to resources. They should reach out to our local office. If you go to SBA.gov, you can get the address, you can get the phone number, and our web presence. And whether you are looking to get advice on your business plan, or you're looking to see how you get a loan from a regional bank, there are about 40 plus lenders here that we work with closely. We did north of 1,100 loans last year for a 7A loan. That's working capital loans, roughly $438 million worth of loans that we did in the state of Utah. So again, our teams are ready to assist, to support, and make sure people know how to get access to those financial resources. One of the things that we're feeling that we are very focused on is to ensure that we can encourage more smaller dollar lending. There's been some reforms that we have done at the agency to make it simpler. So if you're looking for a small loan, that's $50,000 for your restaurant or to buy a small equipment, we've simplified the process. So our lending partners, the local banks that work with SBA, can, or if you would incentivize to ensure small dollar lending as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. And it is often it is that smaller, that lower level lending. If you can simplify that process, can make a big difference. As you mentioned, you've been a lifelong tech entrepreneur. You get it. You know, you know how this plays out. And especially if you don't have an army of lawyers or lobbyists or people, you need to be able to tap into networks of people and organizations. And obviously, there's a lot of that happening here in the state. Give us a sense in terms of those kinds of resources that people can access really on a wide range. Sometimes we just think it's about a loan, but there's a lot of other services that SBA provides that I think are really crucial to the success of a small business.
Absolutely. Look, in addition to financing, you need mentorship and advice. You need how to grow a business, how to build a business, how to recruit a team, and that's where again SBA comes in. We also have a SCORE chapter here, in the States where you can get free advice and mentorship from retired executives. I also want to mention that there is an entire innovation grants process with our SBIR, STTR process, which you get non-dilutive grants. There were 29 of these grants that were made available to awardees in the last year. So of course, financing is one aspect, but then also getting mentorship around your business and how to grow a business, or also how to grow your business abroad. I'm sitting at the World Trade Center right now, and they're a partner for us to make sure that small businesses who have an exportable product can tap into the global market. And we invest in these local partners here in the state to make sure that small businesses have access to these local resources as they think about expanding their business in the country, but also abroad.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. That international thing, as we continue to say that Utah's not just a crossroads to the west anymore, it's a crossroads to the world. And finally, I wanted to ask you about your outreach, your help in some of the underrepresented communities when it comes to entrepreneurship and small businesses. What kind of services, what kind of programs and outreach are you and World Trade Center and the local SBA doing in that space?
Absolutely, and that is a huge priority for this administration. Equity is at the heart of the president's agenda, President Biden's agenda, and we've been very focused on that. So a couple of things. One, we have to look at the data and see where we are, and we have a lot of work to do, Boyd, when it comes to making sure that all communities have a shot at succeeding in this country when it comes to their entrepreneurial dream. There are 334,000 small businesses in the state, only 142 Black-owned firms that have employees. 142 firms. We can do better.
Yeah.
And we have the resources. We are at the right place with investments coming into the country to make sure that, no matter who you are, if you're looking to start a business, you have access to the resources. So one or two areas that I want to highlight here is where we're very focused on ensuring that minority entrepreneurs have access, women entrepreneurs have access to resources, is government contracting. There's a program called 8A program that is designed to support all of these communities. Last year in the state, we did $143 million worth of federal government contracts that were made available to minority entrepreneurs who had a socially disadvantaged past. And that's a program that SBA coordinates. You may know this, the federal government is the world's largest purchaser of goods and services. Right in the state of Utah as well, we have federal government contracts. And we want to make sure that these entrepreneurs have access to them as well to help overcome some of the systemic barriers that some in our minority communities have faced.
Fantastic. Great conversations going on at World Trade Center, Utah, and, of course, the Small Business Administration. Really thrilled to have Deputy Administrator Dilawar Syed joining us on the program. So glad to have you in the state of Utah. We hope this will be the first of many. This is an entrepreneurial state and one that really understands the power, the heartbeat, the drive that comes through our entrepreneurs and small business owners. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to step aside for some bottom-of-the-hour news. Don't go anywhere. Got a special guest coming up, Ronald Brownstein, the senior editor at The Atlantic, senior political analyst for CNN. We're going to talk about how Gaza is dividing Democrats and the president's re-election bid. Impacts on that coming up next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, we have breaking news from Washington. Senate Democrats have voted to kill the articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas because they didn't meet the threshold of high crimes or misdemeanors. Here's Selena Wong.
The White House counsel, throughout these several weeks, they've been circulating quotes from Republicans themselves, from legal experts, constitutional experts, who all say there is no basis for this and that this is just a policy disagreement.
Democrats say there's no basis for impeachment now. The Sundance Institute says it's looking around for a possible new location for the Sundance Film Festival. KSL.com reports the Institute is in talks with Park City about staying past its current commitment of 2026. Park City has been the home of the festival since it got started in the 1970s. The deaths of a couple in their 80s found in their home in American Fork has been ruled undetermined. In January, Dwayne and Sally Franken were found in their home under what police say were suspicious circumstances. The bodies were badly decomposed. The Utah Medical Examiner says it didn't find any trauma or poisoning, and police will now close the case. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average closing trading today down 45 points. The NASDAQ was down 181. The S&P 500 down 29. And a KSL weather looks like a warming trend right through the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time 2:31.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hercules Credit Union has always been about growing stronger together. They've been doing this since 1946, and not by doing a series of transactions, but by developing relationships with you so that they can help you grow stronger and have the confidence to face your financial future. Right now, they have all kinds of wonderful programs that will help you do just that. A Hercules Credit Union home equity line of credit, 3.99% for the first 6 months, no origination fees. Visa Access Card for easy access to your funds. That's what it's all about. That'll give you some confidence. They also have Gold Tier Checking, a great way. No monthly fees, peace of mind. You get the ultimate in identity theft protection with that, along with all kind of travel benefits, cashback rewards, and much more. Those are just a few of the things that happen at Hercules Credit Union that are all about building that relationship of trust with you so you have confidence in your financial future. You can find their locations in Taylorsville, Harriman, Riverton, or Salt Lake City. Or as always, with our friends at Hercules, you can find them online at HerculesCU.com. That's HerculesCU.com.
When you think of Utah's homeless, who do you see? They are people with names and faces, and many are in dire circumstances. They are men and women, and sometimes children. Many are living on the street, in a car, or in a shelter. Some choose to be homeless. Most do not. Many experience the challenges of addiction or mental illness. All are vulnerable. Homelessness is a crisis, one that affects us all. Utah is building a coalition of community leaders and concerned citizens united to end the plight of homelessness. Homelessness should not mean hopelessness. Learn more at projecthumandignity.org. A message from Utah Impact Partnership.
Common Spirit Health has expert orthopedic care that gets you back at it and back to your best. Find skilled orthopedic physicians at Common Spirit locations who specialize in general orthopedics and repair of hips, knees, shoulders, and hands, so you can return to running races or chasing the grandkids. Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Orthopedic care with human kindness is here. Visit mountain.commonspirit.org.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from PI, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then PI Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Salt Lake City PD wrapping up a couple of surface street crashes, one at 13th East, 2700 South, and one downtown at 6 South and West Temple. Weekend warriors, barbecue brawlers, driveway toy haulers. Let Geneva Rock's Ready Mix Concrete be your outdoor extension solution. Geneva Rock assists DIYers and provides contractor referrals. Visit GenevaRock.com/DIY. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A warming trend continues through the week with highs getting into the 70s by the weekend. And right now, 57 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources.
Inside Sources.
America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
So many of the headlines continue to swirl around the Middle East and around Gaza in particular, and it has touched so many different places and spaces around the world in terms of the geopolitics and also the politics right here at home. And as we look at President Biden's re-election campaign, of course, he's doing a little sprint across Pennsylvania this week as part of that. And in the meantime, a lot of the challenges that the president is going to face in that re-election bid will actually be in the Middle East and Gaza in particular. Gaza's been dividing Democrats in some very interesting and unique ways. Ronald Brownstein, of course, is the senior editor at The Atlantic, senior political analyst for CNN, one of the best in the business, and wrote a fantastic piece digging into what this really is, what it means, the challenges the Biden administration has had and the president himself has had in terms of navigating and threading the needle when it comes to Israel and Gaza. And Ronald, thanks so much for making time for us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So give us kind of your lay of the land in terms of how the president has approached this and some of the challenges that it's creating for him, not across the political spectrum, but really within the center of his own party.
Yeah. Well, as you said, I mean, it is a highly complex challenge from both a political and a policy standpoint. And there are no entirely safe courses of action for the president in terms of the domestic politics. But I think the kind of the summary of what we've seen is that Biden's instincts about Israel were formed in an earlier generation. And his kind of inclination, his first step, as we would say of an outfielder, is always to emphasize his support for the country. And his theory when the conflict began, you remember the phrase, he was going to bear hug Netanyahu and try to influence him by staying as close as possible. The problem he's got is that his instincts are very different than the dominant view in his party today, both about Israel in general and its degree of vulnerability in the region, and particularly about Netanyahu, who has identity. I've been covering national politics since the 1980s, and I don't think there's any foreign leader who has identified as closely with one of the U.S. political parties as Netanyahu has with the Republican Party over the years. Only 1 in 20 Democrats in polling say they have a favorable view of Netanyahu. And so the president has kind of been caught between his instinct to resist confrontation, to resist imposing conditions on Israel, and the growing unease in his party, but also in the center of the electorate among independents about the way Israel has conducted this war. He has seemed a step behind, and in terms of kind of matching where the public is going, particularly in his own party. And as a result, as I say in the story, I think he is facing more internal dissent inside the Democratic coalition over the way he's handled this than a Democratic president has faced over any foreign policy decision, really, since Vietnam.
Yeah, and I want to unpack that a little bit, but before I do that, I want to get the first step is such a crucial thing, and bonus points for the baseball reference. But often the president has found that first step has often ended up in a backpedal and a lot of confusing messaging in terms of saying this but then doing that. Sometimes he feels a little more like the British Bobby, who's unarmed, yelling "stop" or "I'll yell stop again." And that seems to be creating confusion both within the party, but also on the international stage in terms of what is the policy, what's the agenda. Is this a de-escalate at any cost problem? And is that creating more confusion than clarity, again, even within his own party?
Well, as we said, he is extremely reluctant to have anything approaching a fundamental breach with Israel. And he is extremely reluctant to back his words with consequences. So, as we have seen, I think both as a result of political pressure in his own coalition, that's undeniable, but also because of a genuine policy reaction to the way the Netanyahu government has pursued this war and what they've said about the aftermath, he's moved toward more of a rhetorical public criticism of Israel's approach to this. But he has not marry that to actual consequences. And so you have more and more, we're up to about 20 Senate Democrats, 56 House Democrats, urging him to suspend the delivery of offensive weapons until certain changes happen. Importantly, no one is really calling, no one that I'm aware of, or at least that, the mainstream of the party is calling for the suspension of defensive weapons, like the Iron Dome that Israel employed over the weekend with Iran. But even though that distinction is pretty clear in terms of the positioning, it's a little more murky in terms of the policy. The F-15s, for example, that Israel is seeking, were also the U.S. used F-15s to shoot down some of the incoming missiles. The Iran attack has probably pushed back this confrontation within the party to a degree. It has kind of delayed it, I think. But May 8th is a date that you should circle, because under pressure from some of those Democratic senators earlier this year, the Biden administration issued a national security memorandum that requires them to report to Congress on May 8th about whether all allies, but certainly pointedly Israel, are using U.S. weapons in accordance with international law, and whether they are cooperating with the distribution not only of U.S. aid, but international aid that the U.S. supports. And it is, I think the sponsors, the senators who advanced that idea, negotiated it with the administration, think it is going to be very hard for them to certify that Israel has done so, particularly on the aid front.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, we're going to watch that May 8th very closely. Help us unpack for a second the impact on the younger voters. And again, we know it will be a close election, and this is not these people are going to switch parties and vote for former President Trump. But this is more, do people become disconnected and not show up? And in a close election in those 7 battleground states for sure, that could be the difference between re-election and packing it up.
Yes, absolutely. And particularly, as I'll say in a moment, Michigan is a particular problem. And it is a very difficult state for Biden to replace if he can't win it. I mean, there is a way to replace it, but it's not easy. Look, young voters have never been that enthusiastic about Biden. They weren't in the 2020 primaries. They rallied to him against Trump in the 2020 election. His approval rating among them has never been great. And this provides this represents just one more hurdle that he's got to get over. There is, in the polling, opposition to the way Israel has conducted the war and resistance to sending them more offensive weapons is as high among young people as it is among any other group. And as you say, the issue the Democratic pollsters and strategists are worried about is not so much that large numbers of them will flip over and vote for Trump, because Trump would, if anything, be even more deferential to Netanyahu. And Stephen Miller, his top immigration advisor, is openly tweeting pictures of pro-Palestinian demonstrations and saying ICE will be busy in 2025 deporting people is what he means. But the fear is that when they're not that enthusiastic to begin with, that this may provide another reason at the margin for people to stay home or splinter to the many third-party options they have. I also think Michigan is a particular problem, where you have that large Arab American population, which is not by itself, I don't think, large enough to tip the state, but all the protest that is centered in those communities like Dearborn just keeps this in the news more in that state. And I thought it was a worrisome for Biden straw in the wind that the University of Michigan president about 2 weeks ago felt they had to impose new unilateral restrictions on protest on campus because the protests against the war have been so intense and widespread. If that level of activism is happening at Ann Arbor, that is not a good thing for Biden, because winning Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin is the surest path for him to get back to 270 electoral college votes. If he doesn't win Michigan, he has to win either Georgia, which looks very hard, North Carolina, which looks very hard, or both Arizona and Nevada, which is probably the best option of the three, but is no guarantee either. So the Michigan problem is a concentrated version of the youth problem nationally, and it's compounded by the Arab American problem.
Yeah. Fantastic perspective, as always. Great piece. You need to go check that out at The Atlantic, theatlantic.com today. Ronald Brownstein, senior editor at The Atlantic, senior political analyst for CNN, one of the great thinkers and someone who has watched this for a long time and has great depth, insight, and wisdom in terms of what all of this means and how this will play out. Thank you so much for making time for us today.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words, and have a good rest of the week.
All right. That's Ronald Brownstein again from The Atlantic. Some really fascinating perspective, and it's one of those, again, you look at just the headlines, it's the headlines, but if you get underneath the headlines, you can start to think again about what you think you know, and Ronald does that with the best of them. We'll step aside for one last break. More Inside Sources coming up next.
People here are raving about QC Kinetics and how regenerative medicine has changed their life. People like Helen, an avid mountain climber who got sidelined when an accident left her knees in constant pain.
I was not able to train or do really anything on my knee.
Helen was told surgery would be her only option. But then she found QC Kinetics and was treated with natural biologics designed to repair and restore tissue in her knees. 3 months later, she was climbing the highest mountain in North America.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain. I began treatment in March, and I summited Denali June the 7th. It was super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
Get your life back with lasting results. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 385-766-1987. That's 385-766-1987. 385-766-1987.
Tune in to Dave and Dejanovic on Thursday from 9 to noon for the Great Utah Shakeout. Be Ready Utah joins Dave and Debbie for a live broadcast from Evergreen Junior High. Don't miss it.
3 days only. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Save thousands on hot tubs and swim spas. It's a major manufacturer's liquidation of hundreds of in-stock spas. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Hot tubs discounted 40 to 80% to the lowest possible price, starting at $29.99. Free professional delivery. Take possession tomorrow, next week, next month, or next season. The Hot Tub and Swim Spa Sale. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Shop over a dozen models of swim spas from 11 feet to over 19 feet. Swim spas offer low-impact exercise, active family fun, unsurpassed relaxation, and installation in one day. The Hot Tub and Swim Spa Sale. Everything must go. Free parking, free admission. You can't afford to miss this. It's a major manufacturer's liquidation of hundreds of in-stock spas. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The Hot Tub and Swim Spa Sale. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Visit hottubandswimspasale.com.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best, just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Does your business struggle with ISO, SOC 2, HIPAA, CMMC, NIST, or other compliance? Register now for the WebCheckSecurity.com Cyber Summit. That's WebCheckSecurity.com.
It's been a rough winter for sure, but visitors are flocking to Box Elder County. Our feathered visitors, that is. Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge is busy hosting swans to swallows, geese to grebes. The spring migration is in full swing, and all that's missing is you. Box Elder County really is for the birds. Just a short 60 minutes north of Salt Lake, Box Elder County is the perfect place to make memories and celebrate spring, along with spending time with our feathered friends. You'll experience amazing restaurants and unique shopping. Come take a soak at Crystal Hot Springs, home to the highest mineral content of any natural hot springs in the world. Let the winter melt away as you relax and rejuvenate. Take in a theater performance at one of the live theaters or visit one of the fine museums. Visitors really are chirping all about Box Elder County. Check out visitboxeldercounty.com and see why Box Elder County is for the birds. That's boxeldercounty.com.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the Great Salt Lake is approaching what the experts call a healthy level. Second, the Sundance Institute looking around for a possible new home for the Sundance Film Festival. Its current deal with Park City expires in 2026. And third, Democrats in the U.S. Senate have dismissed the articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. 57 degrees, partly cloudy right now. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson, and as we round out the program today, if you missed any of the segments along the way, just go to the podcast. You can pick them up there, and one of the podcasts you're going to definitely want to watch for and listen to is a conversation we had earlier in the day today with Ronald Bailey from Reason.com, talking about progress and why it's such a vital thing and how we view it. That is so important. So I want to go back to that conversation for a minute and add a few components. He concluded his piece at Reason.com saying pessimism is more arrogant than optimism. Optimism is simply that we know for a fact that we're capable of solving problems. Pessimism is the conviction that we're not. So the future isn't worse unless people stop trying to make it better. And all of the doom scrolling you can do during the course of your day can make you wonder if it's even worth it to get out of bed in the morning. But we live in a day and in a time where we are the beneficiaries of such extraordinary progress. The fact that you're listening to me at this moment is progress. The fact that you've got a device that fits in your pocket that can access information and people all around the planet instantly, that's progress. The fact that more people have been lifted out of poverty over our lifetimes than probably at any point in history, that's progress. So all of these things we have to be careful of because it's easy to get in that doom scroll, doom loop, downward spiral that is pessimism. And it's so fascinating to me that we get so wrapped up in what's wrong. I am a warts and all guy when it comes to history and when it comes to the state of the country and the state of our communities. But I'm not just a warts guy. Warts and all, yes, but you got to see it all, not just warts. If all you're talking about is the warts, the problems, what is wrong, then you end up with this very distorted view. And one of the things that Ronald Bailey pointed out to us today was the fact that, one, we have a lot to celebrate. The fact that you climbed out of a bed, or probably a really comfortable bed this morning, that you had hot water to take a shower, that you had food that you could actually eat that was nutritious. All of those things are great signs of progress. But it's so interesting in all the polling, there are very few Americans who think that their children's lives will be better than their own, or that things will continue to progress. And that's a dangerous space for a country that was built within the parentheses of a crazy idea that we could have freedom, that we could have self-government, that we could have a constitutional republic that would allow everyone to pursue their own version of their American dream. And it's easy. It is so easy. There's no requirement to be a negative. It's the easiest thing on the planet. Poking holes, unraveling things, going down to that lowest common denominator, that's the easy stuff. But what we have to get to is we have to get beyond this cultural pessimism and get to the fact that we can solve big problems. We can do big things. We've done it. We're doing it today. And whether it's in science and technology, whether it's in the arts, there are all kinds of opportunities. And so we should be optimistic. And having that kind of optimism, I think, is the essence of where we've got to get. It's interesting that whenever an individual or a business decides that they've made it or that they're at the top of the scale, that's when progress actually stops. If you think you're at the pinnacle, where do you go? I have always said during my years of business consulting that the most dangerous day in the life of an organization is the day they're successful, the day they hit number one, the day they grab market share, the day they soundly beat the competition. Why? Because it's so easy to get fat on big ego and rest on your laurels, and then you stop progressing. And it is difficult for businesses and for societies, for that matter, to outlive their own success. In fact, here in America, we really are trying to become one of the few societies in history to outlive their own success. History doesn't lie, and history isn't too kind to all kinds of societies that achieve some extraordinary greatness, amazing success. Mayan Empire, Roman Empire, British Empire, there's a whole slew of them that did incredibly well. And then for one reason or another, they unraveled. And usually they unraveled because they stopped progressing, or they began to buy into the fact that they couldn't progress, or that they couldn't solve big problems, that things got complicated, that there was gridlock, that the difficult issues of the day got pushed on to the next generation. And then they start to fracture, because if you can't get things done, if you can't progress, you got to have somebody to blame. And so then you go tribal, and then you have division, and then you have contempt. And if any of this sounds familiar, it should, because we're in it. And so I think it's important for us to recognize, one, all the progress we have made. Perfection, heavens no. Big, major challenges, big, major issues we need to deal with, absolutely. I believe it was Henry Ford who said that the obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eye off of the goal. And so I think we have to rethink about that in terms of what we're looking at, what we're looking for. Are we looking to validate a belief that we're a country in decline, that we have nowhere to go but down? Or are we going to tap back into that innovative spirit that sparked the beginning of this nation, so that we can get back to innovation, so that we can get back to creativity, so that we can get back to coming together as a society to do big things, to solve big problems? The big problems and the progress are not going to be found in the marbled halls of Congress or some big government solution. They're going to be found in your backyard and mine, across the fence, in the neighborhood and community, because that's where progress has always started. That's where it always has to stay. That wraps it up for us on Inside Sources today here on KSL News Radio. I am Boyd Matheson. Thanks for joining us. And as always, as you go out into the world today, make sure you see something that inspires, say something that uplifts, and do something that makes a difference.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. We're at 57 degrees. KSL's top story. One of the events that put Utah on the map could be leaving Utah for good. Sundance Film Festival's exploring whether to move out of state after